Void Mage Gamer is now partnered with Flipside Gaming, so you can use the promo code on their website, all caps, Void Mage, to get 10% off all orders $10 or more. It's a great way that you can support both Flipside Gaming and Void Mage Gamer's channel. Hello guys, welcome back to another 10 underrated Commander cards video, where I go over 10 cards that I feel like are a little underplayed in the format, introducing you guys to some cards you may not have thought of before. Let's start it off here with the first one, which is Miron the Moaning Well. This is basically what you get when you flip Argyle's Bloodfast. The only difference here is that the flip version of that card doesn't require any more mana in order to sacrifice a creature. You just tap the land. Miron does cost you 3 mana to do that, but its value in the late game is just ridiculous. Put this in any deck where you can constantly recur creatures and you have a valuable source of life gain. You could even mix it in with certain strategies that steal your opponent's creatures and you can be sacrificing their creatures, gaining life at the same time. Brilliant card, incredibly underplayed. And then we have one that I think is well known, but not a lot of people are playing it for some reason. Elixir of Immortality. While mill isn't incredibly strong, having a late game effect that can shuffle your graveyard into your library, get all your counter spells back, all of your cantrips, board wipes, anything that you need back into your deck, just so you can replay those cards. On top of just gaining 5 life, it doesn't sound like you're doing a lot, but you're definitely building up any sort of presence in the late game, which is oh so valuable. And the next card is Play of the Game. This was one that I really liked from Battle Bond. However, I don't see it in a lot of decks, mostly because I think people don't want to risk having opponents that aren't going to cooperate. But I feel like in certain situations, people in the late game are not going to have much to do. They're playing most of their spells, or maybe down to 2 or only 1 card in hand. They have a lot of mana and they don't really have much to do with it. All you have to do is just say to them, I have an assist card that's going to deal with the current problem at the table. If you just give me some more mana, we can be out of this. And that's exactly what Play of the Game is. You're going to exile all non-land permanents. Massive board wipe. You don't always have to ask for the assist, but sometimes it is necessary. And it is nice if you can actually fool your opponent into paying more mana than is necessary and leave you with some mana left over so that you can do something else. I think that's also pretty cool. And then the very next card we have is Desertion. I love counter spells that may be a little bit too expensive than what is usually expected for competitive EDH. You're not going to see this anywhere near those decks, but it is still incredibly fun if you want to play casual EDH. You're countering a spell. If that spell's an artifact or a creature spell, you basically just steal it. So while 5 mana is definitely a lot for a simple counter spell, you are getting a huge benefit, and if it's a really good artifact or creature, you can definitely add that into the mana that you pay for the 5 in Desertion. So it actually becomes more cost efficient when you think about it, and if it helps, try not to think of it only as a counter spell, but definitely as a steal effect. That way the 5 mana becomes more realistic, a little bit more understandable. The next card we have here is one that I've been talking about for a while, and I still don't see it in a lot of decks, but it's really cool. It's Cruel Entertainment. I think I'm one of the only people that play this card in my play group. Never seen anyone else play it. The idea around why I play this card is to just cause some sort of unrest at the table and kind of keep the target off myself. This is a really good way of doing it because whenever you take control of another player's turn, you automatically create some sort of bad blood, and people don't like it when you're touching their cards, doing stuff for them. If you can make 2 of your opponents do this to each other, they're likely going to sabotage the other's turn, and you do have the risk, but it's still unlikely that both of them are going to just gang up on you as some sort of spiteful act for playing Cruel Entertainment. That would be the smart thing to do on their part, but usually the hate is going to lie with whoever's touching the other person's cards, and that's why I love this card. It's definitely good for chaos if you want to play some sort of chaotic deck in black, or some sort of spiteful build in Rakdos. Cruel Entertainment is a load of fun, and if you can constantly recur it, oh boy, you have a fun time at the table. We have another black card in Skull Storm. I love the Storm cards from Commander 2018 because it's basically like the other Storm cards. You have to be able to counter all of the copies. You can't just counter the Skull Storm and then stop it altogether. You may be dealing with 3 or 4 copies of this card, which is still incredibly powerful. It may seem kind of crazy, but I actually think this card is undercosted. Only 9 mana, when this is definitely going to be a late game card. I have no problem finding 9 mana. And for what it does in black, it's exactly what you need. Each opponent is going to sacrifice a creature. Each opponent who can't, they lose half their life rounded up. So let's say you are playing a commander that is likely going to be cast over and over again, like a Miron Clan Neltoth, like a Prosh, that is really central for your deck, for your strategy. Without them, your deck just isn't going to run the same way. Throw in a Skullstorm. I don't think it's hard to imagine you getting 4 or 5 copies of this card, and if you are able to get those, at the very worst, you have an opponent with a ton of tokens, but if it's late game, you're likely going to play this at the right time, and you're just going to whittle down your opponent's life totals. It's going to be a half each time, so if they're at 20 life, they're going to go down to 10, and then they're going to go down to 5, so you can really punish your opponents with this card, and I think it just kind of goes together with other cards like Exsanguinate, Torment of Hailfire, if you really want to get into those punishing effects. Really expensive black cards that do a lot of damage. Skullstorm definitely fits in. And then we have Loaming Shaman. I love this card because it's kind of like why you would play Elixir of Immortality, but in green. If you're able to abuse the ETB, you can also use it as a way to hate on your opponent's graveyards. So if they need to do something like Karmic Guide or Snapcaster Mage, if you have any way to flicker it or flash it into play, you can do that in response. I think it's really cool, but I think it's really powerful if you do choose to use it as graveyard hate. If you have some really important combo cards in your graveyard and you don't really have any other way to get them back, it could definitely be used for that reason as well. But it is one of those cards in green that I think is easily overlooked. Just because it's not like Eternal Witness, it doesn't just get you the cards back to your hand. You know, kind of like Elixir of Immortality, it just puts the cards right back into your deck, which to some people isn't good enough, but I think it can help you out late game. And then we have a card that I've loved for a long time in Chaos decks, but really any deck where you're just looking to play politics. Fractured Identity, great exiling removal, and guess what? If it's a really specific card, like a combo card that one of your opponents has, it's probably not going to be of much use to anyone else. So giving every other player a copy of that card probably isn't going to be a big deal. But there's definitely the Phage the Untouchable combo, so if you really want to have fun with this card, you can definitely do that. There are also other cards that have some punishing ETBs. Those should also be considered. But Fractured Identity, kind of like Cruel Entertainment, it's a fun card. It's not always going to do what you want it to do. Cruel Entertainment doesn't just let you control another player's turn. You also have to give up your turn. With Fractured Identity, you're not just giving yourself a permanent, you're giving other players a permanent too, so it does have a risk involved with it, but it could also be pretty fun in Chaos. And then we have Magister of Worth. You have 2 modes here. You have Grace or Condemnation. I'm just going to come out and tell you guys, it's always going to be Condemnation. I don't think it's ever going to be Grace, because if it's tied, it's going to be Condemnation. You're going to destroy all other creatures. Magister of Worth is going to stay out on the field, and for 6 mana, that's good enough in my book. You have a board wipe and a creature left on the field, have some sort of board presence, a flying blocker, so underrated in the game, and if you have a bit of leverage, you can just show your opponents your graveyard filled with good black-white ETB creatures, and they're probably just going to go for the board wipe anyway. So very rarely are you ever going to get the Grace. Such a good card. I highly recommend it for any black-white deck that's looking for some powerful ETBs. You need some more board wipes. This is the card for you. And the last card we have to talk about is one that I think people get a good laugh out of at first, but Manticore, if you're playing a 5-color deck, unless it's something specific like Super Friends where you're not going to be playing too many creatures, okay, I can understand why you wouldn't want a Manticore, but if you read the card, it is just insane. You get a ton of keywords. You get +4/+4 on any creature you bestow it onto, and here's the good part. Even if your opponents have a board wipe, because they're a dime a dozen in the format, you still get a Manticore out there, because unlike other auras, if it falls off the creature, if that creature is destroyed or exiled, it just becomes a creature, stays out on the battlefield, and you have an awesome 4/4 creature with a ton of keywords. Still out there, ready to put in a ton of work for you. And in a 5-color deck, you're looking for some kind of cool explosive stuff to play with. Manticore is pretty powerful, and all those keywords, the vigilance, lifelink, flying, that is what's going to keep you in a lot of games. But anyway guys, those are 10 underrated commander cards. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know of any cards you think are underrated. Let me know if you play with any of these cards. I want to see what your guys' experiences are in the comments section. You guys have a wonderful day. Void here signing off. See you all next video.